Good morning, Maddie Moses. Hope you're doing well.
Doing well.
Hey,
Good to see you, Andrew.
amazing. Good to see you as well. We're really excited today. We've launched a couple really cool things. We're going to take a few minutes to talk about those super cool things and not specifically talking about the topic of AI and its impact on real estate, although we'll be talking about that more, I'm sure, as the weeks and the years go on. But I'm really excited to talk about it specifically and ask you about Pixelmob Clips and where that kind of came from and like some of the use cases of that. Maddie, I'm curious, can we start with we've launched Pixelmob Clips, and can you tell me a little about that and what that means for our industry?
Yeah, so Clips is an AI image to video service slash product. It's got the ability to take a static image and then turn it into a video, which has massive implications for real estate media because we shoot photos and videos all the time. Being able to recycle images and be able to turn them into dynamic, three-dimensional, very realistic looking videos is a bit of a superpower. And Clips is our first version. It's the first in like a roadmap of many things that we see possibilities with this kind of AI generation system to be able to use existing media and be able to turn it into more dynamic content.
Amazing. Yeah, we're already seeing some amazing use cases of this, and I feel like just the imagination is the only limit on this of what we're able to use it for, not only for our customers, but also for the media side of things. Moses, I'm curious for you, what has been most exciting about to you as you look forward on this year? What's most exciting about being able to have this service of Pixelmob Clips of image to video?
I think anytime there's any kind of new technology, there's new opportunities for business owners. They just need to have an open enough mind to figure out how to use it, typically, instead of fighting against it. So I think I'm interested to see how the media community will respond. Like AI clip generation, Pixelmob's not the only one creating this kind of technology. There's multiple entries in the market. It's here to stay. The community has a choice of whether they're going to get behind it and figure out how to monetize it in their businesses, differentiate product categories, or whether the primary voice is going to be, oh, woe is us, AI is stealing everything. When I really think it could catapult the industry forward, because like in most technological developments, I think there's going to be an increase not only in, so there's more availability of this product now. It's easier than ever to create some kind of a video type of rich media for real estate. That was harder last year than it is this year. So that means more people can do it. More people can do it for cheaper. It's adding competition potentially into the marketplace in the space. But I think one of the really interesting things is that historically in the real estate media space, realtors haven't adopted real estate video as much as you might expect because they've been priced out of their own market in a sense. So the amount of cost that it takes to produce the video doesn't actually line up with the amount of potential demand that is there from the millions of realtors around the world.
Yeah. By the way, Maddie, what was the metric of how many listings actually use video versus not?
Less than 20%
Yeah.
actually include video, and I think that's going to continue to increase
and that's crazy. Like in a world where like every social media platform, every platform that can is shifting in a video direction to grab eyeballs better, et cetera. And you have realtors who allegedly market houses and they're stuck with static imagery. And a technology comes in that allows a democratization of videography at cheaper costs, essentially. That's going to hit. Like it'll hit big in that market. But then I think the media professionals have some choices to make. Like we as a community can rush to the bottom and everybody try to drive AI prices down and sell them for pittance and resell them to realtors or whatever. I think that's what a lot of people are afraid of. But I think there's another real possibility that I think the industry could fight for, which is there's still a lot of value to custom video work. AI is going to be creating, I guess let's call it a standard house story for way cheaper than it used to be a year ago. But that also opens up an opportunity for better storytelling at maybe higher prices for the best clients. So you've got a dollar store or a McDonald's version that you can now resell that can bring in an audience that's never been open to buying video before at a lower price point. But at the same time, the fact that McDonald's exists means that some people value their local restaurant more. Like they want to shop local, they want a premium product, they want to differentiate themselves. They don't want to be a commodity. And I think that's the ideal outcome to me for the real estate media community is you actually differentiate two different product categories. The one, it becomes almost standard that some kind of videography is included with every single photo shoot. Like we've watched this happen with floor plans. I think we may see it happen again with AI generated videography.
It's like a catalog. It's just the basic catalog.
But then at the same time, I think the smart business owners are going to differentiate premium storytelling driven products that really cast a vision for why this house is special, that really grabs eyeballs in a way that markets the realtor better, like the brand of the realtor, what they're typically really selling. It's an opportunity for realtors to differentiate themselves, and therefore it's an opportunity for real estate media professionals to differentiate themselves and offer even better custom videography.
And to boot, there's still a lot of creative things you can do with clips. The contents, the raw content, you can remix it and edit it, and you can sell packages of videos. If you want to sell small packages of 15-second vertical format, like Reels and TikToks, you can now sell a package of those in 3 or 5 of those. And that's just content that people can fuel their pages with. And you sell them at $30, $40 a pop, and it costs you a fraction of that. And then you can also remix it into a longer form, like tour video, reuse the same clips in multiple different ways. And this all starts with, you only have to go shoot photos. And then everything you're saying, Moses, is true. If you want to continue to differentiate yourself, that 20% market for video is going to expand widely. But that original 20%, they're going to spend their money on the custom stuff. And so I think it's inevitable. There's two parts of it. There's the inevitableness of just as a thing becomes commoditized, that was a special thing. Being like video is a specialty service, special skills, special or all that.
When I was a broker, you might have done a custom video on your highest price point listings, maybe 1 or 2 in a year. And when I was starting, like almost 15 years ago, like professional photography was a differentiator for realtors. And the differentiation bar for them keeps going up as more and more real estate photographers create a price that the realtors can afford, which a lot of people don't know that, but that's new. That started happening just 15 years ago. Like MLSs weren't even digital, many of them, until like almost 2010. So there's just crazy shifts in the market that have created awesome opportunities for the real estate media industry to exist. And now the real estate media industry has some identity shifting to wrestle through over the next year or two as to how it will position itself and how it'll continue to grow.
Think about the opportunity from the real estate media agency perspective is that like let's say you have a video product and you charge $200, like bump that price up to $350 or $400. And now you're doing a more custom thing in that slot. And then you have a base price video slot that you can upsell easily at any time for $100. And you only have to pay for it when you produce it, when they say yes. So the thing is that you already have the media in limbo waiting, like you can be used at any time. It's in the hopper.
And if it's after the fact as well, you can decide later on, hey, we need additional media for this particular property. Yeah. That's an immediate use case of we don't have to spend and have all this production time to go back and reshoot and redo things. For the most part, you can actually get additional generated content, remixing it in a way that is really effective.
I think the remixing idea is actually huge because it enables a behavior that's never really been functionally possible before. So like, let's say you have a realtor who always orders 25 photos from you and they're a great client and they're custom, like they come back every month, right? There's no problem with this person. But suddenly you notice that the real estate market has been not as roaring the last few years as it was, right? So maybe they have listings that are sitting. Right. So like you could take, as AI clips and that kind of generation makes things much more accessible, you can actually offer that realtor a product after the fact. So let's say they have a listing and you notice it's been sitting for 3 months. You could go back through, send them a message and say, hey, I noticed this hasn't sold yet. Would you be interested in this kind of a video to maybe bolster and refresh your listing? You don't have to go back out to the property to shoot it. You don't have to do anything. You just take the same imagery you did the first time. You can remix it and resell it to that client, to other clients. There's all kinds of opportunities that present when you can take a raw material from a photo shoot and remix it as many ways as you want to over time.
And even to do it speculatively, spend $10 and create 3 clips and make a little 15-second thing that shows them how to use that stuff. Like, here's a little video, and I'm just going to give it to you. And I can do longer form ones, and you give them a price tag. And the thing is, you can do that anytime and sell it. Those use cases like you're talking about, where it's been sitting on the market for a long time. But even just to introduce them to the concept, like we can do this, and I can do a combo package of photo plus video, and it basically costs you nothing. It's just pure margin. So like, you have your expense to create it, but as long as you've built in your margin, you basically are not doing anything extra on location, just when you in post. So I think that's an incredibly cool opportunity.
100%.
To Kent. So
sounds good. You actually answered my question that I was going to ask you at the end. Moses,
cool.
Thanks
All
so
right,
much for your time. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Continuing the conversation there, one of the things we started talking about a little bit with Moses was some practical use cases. So we can talk about on a big picture industry level of here's how it's going to be impacting everything. If you were telling me I'm a photographer helping my customer on a regular basis, I know I've heard about AI. I know like it's coming in. I've seen some of the promotions that you've been doing for clips. I'm curious, what does that actually mean to me? What are the actual, on a daily basis, we talked about some use cases of that, but what does that actually mean for me today that I have access to clips now?
So I think the implications are huge, even in the immediate future. So let's say you don't shoot video at all, like you have no video products. Now you can do that. Let's say you are an agency owner and you've got a team of photographers and only one of them shoots video, but you've got 3 others that shoot photos. Now all of them, in theory, can make videos. They don't have to do anything, but their content can become videos. You don't need any special gear. Everything you're shooting photos with now is what you use to make the video. You don't need to know how to do the camera work, the camera movements. You don't need to know anything about frame rates or managing large files and all the stuff that's a big pain in the neck with transferring files online with video. That doesn't mean that, once again, this doesn't replace custom video, but this entry-level video product is now accessible. The accessibility is the big opportunity here. So, like I said, no new gear. You can offer video products. If you don't already, you can get more from your existing team.
Yeah, that I think is one of the most valuable things, being able to take what we already have and it's not replaced. I love that. And I think that's actually exactly in a lot of the conversations that I've even been having with individual Pixelmob customers. The conversations are like, this isn't actually, at this point, this only enhances or empowers what you already have. We can have a long, extended philosophical conversation about AI's long-term impact, and I'm sure we'll have many more of those discussions. But in this case, this specific service of being able to take an image, still image, and generate a video, essentially customizable video almost at this point, allows us to build so much more on what is already existing. And harkening back to one thing is, I'm not sure what the exact reason, there's probably multiple reasons as to why, even though most of the content that we consume on a regular basis is live or dynamic media, right? Video, you have the social media platforms that are very video based. There's YouTube, there's Facebook, there's all these different Reels platforms. So actually, could you answer that for me? We talked about there's under 20% of all the listings out there are actually getting video generated from these listings. Why do you think that in a video consumption heavy culture that we live in, where we have all these media platforms that are very video forward, and obviously video is very much more dynamic, why is it that there's less than 20% of the listings out there that have video represented in them?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with its cost. Now, that's a good thing in some regard for the people who make videos, but that also means that you can only sell so much. So I think there's a handful of agencies, they specialize in video. and they basically are looking for that top tier, that top 20%, or maybe it's a smaller tier sliver of the industry that want video, and they take the lion's share. But then there's all these other listings. So you think about it, all these listings of the 5 million listings that get sold in the US every year, such a small portion of them are coming out with video, but all of them have photos. Like there's this standard concept for visualization. More and more of them are including things like floor plans. And to your point, in a world of this like video consumption on social media, why do people not want to invest in the video side? Like we're watching the customer behaviors, the realtors' behaviors. Why are they not buying it? And I think the reason why is because it costs $250 or it's $1,000. There's a big range, but like, why are they doing that? And I think cost is the number one prohibitive influence on that's going to continue to drop. And it's also speed. Like these, it might take you a day or two to get. The more custom it is, the longer it'll take, and the more expensive it'll be. But anyways, I think the costs drop, and it becomes basically like commonplace to have a video or a couple of videos. And it may not be like in the MLS, but it's for the promotion of the realtor and obviously the property itself.
I'll throw in, I think there's something else other than price that's missing from adoption, and that's the ability to produce enough quantity to matter. So like a behavior I watched was people would order a property video. So even the agents who would currently invest in a video, they would sometimes get disillusioned with it because they would put it on social media. Maybe they get 1,000 views, but it's not functionally what actually sells that house. The MLS sells that house. And so there's like this question of, okay, I spent $800 on a video. Why did I do that? Why didn't I just put that money in my pocket?
I will jump in there. I think that is correct. However, what's more important probably in that situation is the perception of, is it actually selling the house? Because it actually could be, but the attribution or understanding like where the actual sale of the house came from, it's getting more eyeballs, but we don't know. So
you don't know, but I think there is at least some consensus in social media marketing space that the amount of content that you create is pretty key to ranking in people's feeds. So if you're only posting, like the average realtor is taking 3 to 4 listings a year at most. Realtors who take a lot more than that. Just take the average Joe Schmo realtor. They have 4 high quality videos per year that they put into their social media feeds. How do you think an average social media coach would tell them that would perform in terms of boosting their algorithm and their ability to be seen? That's going to suck, right? So then maybe they get some good one-off hits on those, but their overall brand and ability to sell houses is not really increasing from that media creation. Compare that with a possibility that they could create 15, 20, 25 individual different pieces cost effectively for a single house and space it out over the first few weeks and then the month and then 6 months. Most listings are for 6 months. If you asked a social media expert how often you needed to post about something to keep it alive and fresh for 6 months and how much you needed to remix that content, that's going to be an astronomical amount of content to really do it well. So if this kind of generative AI can do anything to step in that direction to keep the properties marketed long-term in engaging ways, I think it actually starts to shift the needle of how real estate marketing happens and the value that a realtor or the media professional brings into the equation.
And why it matters to them that they need the content so that they can get more people viewing and liking their pages, so that way they are more valuable to their next customer that wants to buy or sell a house because they've got 2,800 people follow them.
It's the network effect of the more eyeballs they get, the more the engagement they have, and the more
they're a better audience.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they have rules of the types of properties that they can market and stuff like that. But if they're in a brokerage, they can actually create marketing pieces from other realtors in their brokerage. And like part of the challenge is your individual realtor isn't that interesting to follow because they have 4 to 8, maybe 10, maybe 15 houses a year. That's like in 30 minutes that they're doing in a year, right? So the engagement level is low, even though the content itself is interesting. So imagine
I think you're selling
ramp that up.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think you're selling yourself short there. If you went and became a realtor again, Moses, I'd be your first follower. I'd follow you every day. I don't think I think you would not be the boring one.
I appreciate that, but I think you get the idea that we are giving a tool, and we as a media industry can give a better tool to realtors to actually engage with their user bases that they've never been able to do before. And I think the premier businesses in the space are going to capitalize on that like mad.
One thing I'll add to that, I think in a lot of the conversations we've had with our community of photographers from around the world, right? Because if you're listening to this or watching this and you are in the North American markets, or I don't know all the details about every country's MLS systems or what's really goes into that. But I've had several conversations where they're like, we do have an MLS, or in some countries they don't have an MLS, or there's not really regulation. Most of the world, yeah, it doesn't. Now, that may not necessarily be impactful to the North American audience, but around the world, it's the social media and the video content there. So video actually probably around the world where there isn't as much of an MLS focus or the Z word of platforms where people are looking.
They're not even dominant in large parts of the world. There's not a Zillow in China. Zillow is not dominant in Europe. There's lots of different opportunities all around the world. But I think one fun thing about this, and I think one place you could look to see what a world would look like where MLSs are less dominant, is many people don't know this, but New York City does not have an MLS system. So one of the most influential cities in the world, and definitely in the United States, does not have a multiple listing service. And I find it fascinating, the media that New York City realtors create in comparison to realtors in the rest of the country. So
what's that like?
So if you,
a quick example.
So if you follow, there's not just one of these, there's dozens of these that you can find that are realtors, and they will put huge production value movies of multi-million-dollar lofts up. Things from like recording a musical about the property to hiring actors to like, so you have like your really high class like actors embodying the living of the space to like really zany like musicals and attention grabbing special effects and things that are going into these videos because they don't have an MLS to fall back on. They have to focus on how many people can they get to follow their brand. And I think you'll see the real estate industry at large need to depend on the MLS less and less, and they'll need to differentiate themselves more and more. And I think, as is typical, New York City is the leading edge of that in a way that I think may trickle out as there's more and more need to diversify platforms and engagement. And Maddie, of course, like you lived up in New York. Did you have like favorite realtors, anybody you saw up there that did really crazy video stuff?
Ironically, the people I watched were people that would go and just review the most normal studio apartments, but it was just YouTube content, UGC type content. And the thing that blows your mind about New York City in its own entertaining way is just that it's $3,500 a month for the studio apartment with the bathroom down the hall that you share with 6 other tenants. And you're like, it's entertaining for a whole reason. But obviously, there's a lot of properties that don't get any visibility. I think, to me, like that's part of what's interesting about the Clips concept is that you could create a base level catalog type video, and you could have 3 or 4 of them, just remixes of similar format that you put up. And the thing is that Andrew already made this point is that like we're in this video consumption world.
Everything is video. If anybody's going to
swiping, like I'm not going to engage with photos of a house, like a catalog posting. It's unlikely, like as a consumer.
And even if you are engaging with that images, the platforms that are to image, I'm thinking about TikTok as an example, is they do have photos, Instagram photos, but you're engaging. I'm not sure what the average time of viewing one photo is, but you're actively swiping through, and the time that my eyes are on each image is much less than the video, obviously. So even to the extent that there are images,
it's passive viewing. Even if you were to animate a slideshow of just normal photos without the AI clip stuff, would probably do better than just photos, just because it's passive viewing.
Yes.
But if you can make it dynamic where it's going to move from shot to shot, camera movement, and each shot lasts for 3 seconds, I can tell a story. I can show 5 images in 15 seconds and then move on. Splash up a realtor graphic and a follow for more. And that's enough for me to go, oh, I like that house, or just move on with my life. But I caught my eye, and the photos just don't have that same appeal. So it's kind of the base level thing.
That's just basic, like basic biology. Yeah, sure, it's an eye-catching photo. But if your eye is going to be drawn to a photo or a video, so in a stream, you can see 2 to 3 things at a time. You're going to zero in on the moving thing every time. That is just a biological reality. Your eye is drawn to movement, and it's drawn to you, like it's drawn to humans. And that's another fun thing. Like, you can't do this yet, but very soon, one of the other things that realtors are reluctant to do, even though they know that it makes the property more visible, is they're reluctant to get on camera themselves. Again, known fact that people are drawn to images of humans, but they're scared they don't look right. There's too much production to like choosing the right wardrobe, like all the things. Like, I've felt it, like having to decide all the things. And like Maddie would laugh at me as I bring in a suitcase to our like filming shoots for Pixelmob so that I can change my clothes and stuff like that. It's a lot of thought. But one of the fun things that AI is also creating is the ability to create a little avatar of you. That if you want to be a little talking head in the corner of every video, that's possible. If you want to animate a person into a clip, that's coming. So all of these barriers that have functionally kept media from either being produced or adopted are coming down. So the people that see that and skate to that puck are going to win.
100%. I love that. This is something that I think we're obviously really excited about, what we've been doing with the clips and many more things along the roadmap. Moses, what's coming down the pipeline? Can you give us our roadmap of what's on the whiteboard?
It's all right here. Everything we're going to be doing. Yeah.
One of the things
somebody needs to create a response video, like that scene in Cabin in the Woods, where it's like all the things that they can do to the world to mess it up and have an apocalypse. Like, just speculate all of the things. Yeah, just go ahead. Yeah. Fill in our Cabin in the Woods diagram back here.
It's been out for long. That was a spoiler, and I unfortunately haven't seen it, but that's because I'm not up to date on some of the modern things. But
I feel like it's justified if it's 10 years old and you haven't seen it. I'm sorry, I'm going to talk about it.
Yeah. There's some things like The Matrix or even like The Sixth Sense, where it's like, spoiler, it's been out. It's a classic now. It's been out for so long that if you haven't watched it already, I probably deserve this.
Andrew, Darth Vader is Luke's dad. Okay, you're welcome.
I don't know how I'm going to go on from that. No. Yeah. Unfortunately, on that particular thing, I saw many other things before I actually watched the movies of that. And so I essentially knew the story of Star Wars before, because it was such a cultural relevance.
Again,
but
I feel like that's your own fault.
That is my own fault. It is. Yeah. With that in mind, as we wrap on this conversation, I think one thing that comes to mind is that we went to a couple conferences last year for real estate. PMRE was one of those. And some of the predominant conversations and discussions at those events were this thought process or this idea of identity of who are we as photographers? We're photographers, we're videographers, we're media professionals, we're marketing consultants. There's all these titles that you could give us. I think one of the things that is fascinating me that came out of that was the fact that in a lot of ways we're storytellers. And I guess the question, storytelling, telling the story of that listing, telling the story of the client, right? The client being the agent who's trying to sell homes, who's building an audience, who's building the network. At the end of the day, we're all the identity that we have storytellers in that. I guess my question is, if an image is worth 1,000 words, what is a video? And follow-up question to that, what's an image that is transitioned to a video worth in words?
I don't know. I would need to ask ChatGPT.
Go ask Chat and see what we'll cover it.
The visibility is the big value. So like, obviously, I don't know that you're getting more information than you get from a photo. That's not the point, right? Obviously, the big value is that you're getting people to watch it, like to consume it. And so there's the base level of people will see the photos if they're interested in the house. Usually, the inverse of that for a video is that people will watch it because it's there. It's in the flow of, you just start watching reels and you just flip through, or it's just the next thing. I think there's just appeal to the idea of it's a way that's going to catch eyes get in the flow where people intercept them where they're going to be watching that photos won't have. It does the base level education, like of this is what's in the house, but doing it with in the flow of where people are watching.
All right, so I asked ChatGPT, but I asked it to answer poetically, and it gave me the following. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then an AI-born video is a river of stories. Each frame, a whisper. Each motion, a verse. Flowing through time, painting worlds unrehearsed. It is not just words, but the breath between, the pause, the pulse, the unseen dream, a silent sonnet, a moving refrain where pixels dance and meanings gain. If a picture is a single spark, then a video is the fire in the dark, not just a story, but the space in between where the unsaid speaks and the seen is unseen.
Wow.
What more can we say, really? There's this old adage that the truth needs no defense because it's a roaring lion and it will defend itself. That's what we just experienced there.
Maddie, did you say lame?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. My homework for Maddie is now that we have that AI generated beautiful poem, now you have to, by the time we meet together next, why don't you go and write a poem that is in a similar way? Maybe that's my assignment.
We'll just see if Maddie can write a better poem than ChatGPT.
Yeah. I will not do that.
That's great. With that in mind, I think that's a great place to wrap on this. We're really excited about Clips. I know we've had many discussions this week about this and the use cases and how this is shifting, being able to change the way that we tell stories. So, Maddie, if I'm interested, I haven't used Pixelmob. What's the best process for me to try out Clips today?
So if you're trying out Clips, you need to create a Pixelmob account and place your first order, create a project and add a Clips service right into your order form. You can upload photos, or if you've already edited photos on Pixelmob, you have the option to choose from your existing photos that are hosted there on Pixelmob. You can pick those images and then you'll get them back. It takes a little while. Right now, this is a kind of human supervised AI generation, which we think adds benefit to the actual production worthiness of these clips. And it just cleans it up, makes sure that there's not all kinds of crazy hallucinations that tend to happen, and that the camera directions are all moving the right way and all that sort of thing.
What's been your favorite AI goof? Because that is something that we haven't talked about today so far, but one of the most valuable things about Clips is that we are verifying. Although we have our AI generating the image, we have a human verification process of, does this look good? Is it good? And so you don't have to do that in that process. But there's been some pretty funny things as it comes to goofs and gaffes. What has been your favorite so far?
Yeah, so ceiling fans are the worst part of generating videos from images, because it tries to animate anything. If there's cars in the road, if there's fires in the fireplace, it sees a ceiling fan, it tries to animate it, and they always look janky. And so you try to work around that. And one time I just created a fan, it literally is like a transformer, comes up into the room like one of those standing fans and just grows like a flower.
It didn't grow into the middle of the room. It just it wasn't there, and all of a sudden it just generated a standing fan that
just to spite me.
Moses, what were we gonna say about that?
No, I was just saying it just appeared and it's just there.
It just appeared, yeah. I think my personal favorite so far has been just lighting the room on fire because it puts fireplaces in the wrong place. So you have cabinets on fire.
That was a good one.
Or the vehicle, or a vehicle that's like driving into the house from a glass driveway, driving some pretty incredible things.
Pretty nuts.
So, primary question, either Moses or Maddie, where do you see this going? Obviously, we've launched this as Clips. What's the roadmap? What does it look like specifically for Pixelmob, and where AI is fitting into the mix of how we're planning on continuing to serve our communities with this?
So Clips right now is the earliest stages. It's the worst it'll ever be. So it's right now we get a 720p resolution render. There's opportunities for upscaling using AI tools and other things like that. It's okay. I think we're going to see the quality dramatically increase over the course of the next year as we train more models and we've solved more around camera control and things like that. So we'll have more precision, better detail, and we'll be able to recreate the details from the original image better. We'll also be able to do it faster. The times you'll wait will be shorter. You'll get higher quality clips, and it'll become more automated as well. It'll be faster, cheaper, better. So that is going to happen very fast, and I think we'll be looking at a very different product within the next year, within the next 12 months. I'm excited about what this leads to from the product standpoint of tools that are going to allow for more on-demand creation. We've got some big plans in that regard. Also being able to do more automatic video editing and being able to allow you to work with editors as well. So if you want to do it yourself, or if you want to collaborate with an editor, doing that all in one ecosystem using clips. Also, the biggest benefit that I see on Pixelmob roadmap is combinations and like the sequencing of services, going from your HDR edits directly into turning them into clips and then immediately turning them into video as one product that doesn't have a bunch of intervention steps. So those are the things I'm most excited about, some of those are immediate. Like those are going to be happening over the next 90 days. Some of those are going to be growing over the next year, but there's a lot of opportunity here.
I think the state of AI changed from the beginning of your sentence and that even the end. So it changes so fast. Yeah, I mean, that's incredible.
Value went up 2 billion in that time. Yeah,
that's right. And learned everything about everything, and learned everything about the human history, and solved all of the universe's problems.
Cataloged our sentences right now being recorded in Zoom to use for later. Yeah, absolutely. It all happened.
Incredible. Yeah. We're really excited about the future of what that's going to look like. Moses, do you have a comment or thought on that?
Yeah, aside from the big brother problems, I think the parts that I'm excited about are the things that make new entire product categories or new things possible to people that it wasn't possible for before. We were talking about Star Wars earlier. Like there's been movie magic and special effects happening at a stellar level for all of cinema history based on the technology that's available. But until now-ish, there's not really been a cost-effective way to do special effects in like small business level cinematography. At least not, it happens and people pay big money for it to happen in order for them to market their business. But one of the things I'm most excited about is because you can generate some of this stuff from like using artificial intelligence to extrapolate special effects from still images. You can do special effects and things that never would have been economically possible before. So if you want to make the house explode in the middle of your custom video, so even if you're still positioning and you've got a positioned luxury market for a custom storytelling video, part of that, like special effects make new types of storytelling and fun possible within that. So maybe you're doing custom videography, but you're not going to pay for the CGI effects to blow up the house or compress the house or make confetti rain down around the realtor. You're just not going to have that budget. But if you generate that from a still image, you very well could. So you could actually have use cases within the custom storytelling to put in special effects that make them economical, even at a small business price range. And I'm pretty excited about that because that spurs all kinds of potential creativity and ways of presenting things that haven't been possible for economic reasons up until now. So I'm pretty stoked about that side of things. And I'm also pretty stoked about as a realtor who never really got on camera a whole lot, if I could have had Avatar me pitch property, I probably would have been down for that. That would have been pretty fun. Because for me, I don't mind being on camera. I just never had time. I never had time to do that. So if it could extend my time to where I'm writing the script, but I don't have to spend half a day filming stuff, suddenly that becomes possible and scalable.
Would AI Moses have as magnificent a beard as you?
Oh, better. Obviously, it would be so much better. I mean, Ready Player One level, like Gandalf, for sure.
Amazing. Incredible. So we've launched Clips, and now that's available. We also have effects. Can you tell me kind of the difference between Clips and effects, or as we're using effects, what is some of the use cases of that? What excites you about the effects service as well?
So let's back up for just a second. I'll let Maddie talk about special effects that are coming,
Yeah.
But there are special effects that Clips makes possible today. So for instance, because you're generating from a still image, you can virtually stage, you have an empty room, have a virtually staged room. Like this is commonplace, right? Now virtually stage it again and again. All right. That's all budgetable. You can have each of those virtually staged rooms turned into a video in a way that you can stitch it in to what you're presenting and display imaginary options for how that room could look. That's going to be way more engaging than just videoing empty property. So like right now, you could use image to video technology to actually make a much more engaging property video, either for an already staged property or an unstaged property. And you could do like data dusk kinds of conversions by using a still image. Those are things you can do now. And then we've got all kinds of ideas of things that you should be able to do in the upcoming months. Maddie, you want to take it away with things that you could do soon?
Yeah, I think the biggest opportunity is anything that you can edit in a photo, you can now edit in a video. And
Yep.
so the things that were nearly impossible before, like doing virtual staging in a video, was extremely cost prohibitive, and not just cost prohibitive, it'd be very hard to find even a solution for it if you were trying to outsource it. You might know how to create 3D graphics and do that on your own, perhaps, but there's very few people who can do it, and it's not inexpensive. It would cost you a lot to do it. So now this new opportunity comes up where anything that you could do in a photo, like virtually staging it, could now become a video. And so those are like the big obvious ones, like adding virtual staging or maybe a data dusk. But then there's other little small things that are really have been challenges in the past, like object removal. It's like a piece of cake to do it on your own, right? To go paint out the Peloton in the middle of the master bedroom in the photos, but then you go to edit the video and you're like, all the other rooms look great, but now I've got this master bedroom in the photos. It doesn't have this Peloton covered in clothes. What do I do? And you could just take the photo and then turn it into a clip. And now you have a 3D realistic video image from your photo that has that Peloton gone and it looks pristine. There's also some really cool things that I think are going to be exciting that just weren't possible before, particularly when it comes to doing window pulls in video. Like getting your exposure for video is always complicated. And I think in some cases, it definitely downgrades the quality of a video. Some cases, if you have a really nice camera with huge latitude and exposure latitude, you can get something that looks really nice and it has a nice bloom and looks cinematic. For most people, they're shooting with the same camera that they shoot their photos with, and it looks crappy, honestly. Like it looks aliased, there's just chromatic aberration, like it looks washed out. That's because your camera just doesn't have the latitude to handle it. So if you've got a beautiful view of an ocean or a mountain or a lake out the window, and the realtor's like, the selling point of this living room is these big window vistas, you have to capture them. What are you going to do? And so you have to drop the exposure of the room and it's pitch black to get the view of the windows. And so now you can get the best of both worlds. When you need to capture window views, you can take a photo that's already been edited that gets the best exposure for the interior and the exterior, turn that into a video clip. And then I think we've been experimenting with how does that fit in the middle of your video. You shoot video clips. So there's obviously limitations with what you can do with clips. You have limited range of motion before the AI has to make up what's outside the boundaries. But so you're not going to be doing full walkthroughs of a house with AI anytime soon. But like you mix in shots that are walk through the entrance and turn into a room, and then you cut to a shot of the view that just cut in, and then you go to the wide shot of the video you took of that room from the other side, from with the window behind you. There's totally ways that this kind of works in with your existing flow to get effects that you couldn't do before.
It's going to be cool to see what people come up with that we haven't thought of yet either. That's the craziest part about this is it's going to change dramatically over the next month. Definitely over the next 3. It'll be a different world by 6 months from now.
It's already a different world from now until a month ago. And so much change every single month. That's incredible. Thank you for walking me through that and for walking all of us through that. We're really excited about what we have coming down the pipeline, what's available now, and also what's coming down the pipeline for really capturing and telling the story of our customers' listings, right? Of being able to ultimately continue providing value and even more value with what we have currently. I did ask, based on our conversations today, AI to write me a quick quote based on what we had to summarize what we talked about today. And I think it did a really good job, actually, at least in my opinion. This is the closing quote that AI came up with. It says, "An image captures a moment, a video tells a story, but an AI generated video creates a future that never existed until now."
Too bad.
I got a nod from Maddie. I'll pass that feedback. It's from Maddie.
I thought you were going to end with "it's a future that never existed," and
Just
you're like,
just leave
okay.
it at that. It's a future that never existed. That's great, guys. Wrap it today. Yeah, but I think that captures the moment, captures this conversation. We're really excited to see not only what we're doing by providing more value and tools to really tell those stories and be able to create more value for our end clients and agents, etc. But we're excited to be hearing what our community does with this. Yeah, thank you for your time today, Maddie and Moses. I really appreciate your time.